Okay, I'd like to call the April 9th regular council meeting in the city of Twinsburg to order. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Here.
Ms. McFerrin?
Here.
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Here.
Mr. Fury?
Here.
Mr. Scafidi? Mr. Bellin?
Here. Okay. Rise and join Mrs. Stoffer in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Father, we seek your guidance for the business that is before us. In planning for the future of the city of Twinsburg, give us vision. Guide us to make decisions that are not self-serving, but for the betterment of our community, so we can continue to move in a positive direction. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is the approval of the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to read the meetings from the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Any additions, corrections, anything like that?
Make a motion that meetings are accepted as submitted.
I'll second. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes. Okay. We do not have any awards or presentations tonight. So next is audience participation.
First, we have Bob Thews.
Good evening, Council, Mayor,
Evening.
Mr. Maestros, and all officials. I'm Bob Thews, 2229 Demi Drive, Twinsburg, Ohio. When I raised the issue of additional taxation in Twinsburg, I inevitably hear two things. First, we would not be in this financial jam if we had not rescinded the 0.25% income tax increase. And second, we can overcome this by economic growth. Let me debunk both of these theories. First, the city is spending at a rate of a 0.25% increase in taxes. All the 0.25% continued tax would do is just kick the can down the road. Now, that may be fine for a few politicians who decides to get out when the heat goes up, but it delays and obscures the problem of overspending. There has never been a government that has increased taxes and decreased spending. So my belief is that if the 0.25% stayed, then the spending would have gone up even more. Free money is just too hard to resist. Secondly, economic growth will provide enough funds to overcome the deficit spending. For us to meet the expenditures of the last several years, Twinsburg would need to grow the workforce in Twinsburg by approximately 4,000 jobs, paying $50,000 per year. That's equivalent to a new Chrysler plant. That's not going to happen. In fact, the former Chrysler facility is almost completely rebuilt with lower-paying warehouse jobs with relatively low levels of employment. It is likely to be around 15% income tax of the previous facility, not an ideal type of tax growth. Well, what about growing housing and adding to our existing inside millage? Well, excluding those new residents who might work in Twinsburg, we would need an additional 16,000 homes like the ones in Corbett's Farm. By the way, our population density per acre is already higher than Solon and Hudson. So that's not going to happen. And if you see it in your future to build high occupancy senior citizens condos, you're adding immensely to the debt. Senior citizens provide no wage tax revenue and consume the city's resources at a higher rate. Now remember, I'm only looking at this from a financial aspect because I'm a senior myself. What would be the best way to help the situation? Somebody should have listened to Bob McDermott years ago. What Twinsburg needs is office buildings loaded with high-paying jobs, like insurance companies. Even with that, you'd still need 2,500 jobs. So in conclusion, you will need to raise taxes and increase jobs, as well as housing, and hope that this does not discourage the existing companies from leaving. You're certainly not cutting spending. Sorry. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Mark Fagan.
I'm gonna pass around my phone so you guys can look what I have to drive by every day.
Can you say your name and address?
Yeah, we need name and address.
It's okay.
It's Mark Fagan, 9129 Chamberlain Road, Twinsburg,
Mark, I've got pictures of it all if you'd like me to send it to council.
if you don't mind.
I have multiple pictures, yeah.
Okay, well, I just took some now and they can look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can scroll left and right, it's nothing I'm ashamed of on here.
Thank you.
So, the house four doors down from me has several mass mounds on them filled not only with dirt, but with all kinds of construction, bottles, pallets, bricks. And I've been communicating with the mayor about this. Honestly, we communicated about a year and a half ago about this, and some kind of letter was sent out to him, but the problem hasn't been remedied, and I want to know what legally the city can do to get this person who has clearly no pride of ownership, and, you know, the house is in disarray too, but that's not even my concern. My concern is, like, why is this person allowed to have all this was from the sewers, I think 5 or 6 years ago. This is how long it's been here. So I don't know why, you know, everyone has to be exposed to this, and, you know, all the other hazards. It's an attractive nuisance. Like, why is he allowed to do this? So I wanted to see what we can come up with, what kind of solution to get this remedied. Because frankly, I like, if I stopped cutting my grass, I'm sure there would be all kinds of people, you know, and I think the same concept that I have to maintain my grass is the same concept that should be used where this person or persons have to clean up their lawn. So it's a little frustrating now why it's been like this for 5 or 6 years. That's all I have to say about that.
Mr. Fagan, where do you live at on Chamberlain Road?
9129,
Okay, that's almost down to 82, right?
right, it's 200 yards south of 82, or north of 82, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an older home, right?
Yeah, that's the last of the older homes, and then there's the
Okay.
newer construction.
Just
I've
so
got
I
pictures.
remember where it's at. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
So, Mr. Yates, he's been talking to you, where are we with this? And I believe that last year that Mr. Rodick talked to the owner.
Yeah, I'll give you an update. Yeah, so when,
Can I close the blinds over there?
what's that?
Can I close the blinds over there?
Mr.
Finch.
Which ones?
Yeah, those, it's blinding me.
That one, Larry.
Yeah. Thank you.
So when the sanitary lines were redone, this particular homeowner, and I know this was actually the son of the previous homeowner that took possession of this house, did some mounding. There were trees that we were obligated to provide. We provided trees. They were never planted. His plan was to do some landscape mounding in his front yard. The problem with that is the mounding, he was allowing debris to be dumped there, bricks, broken block, just all kinds of stuff. We sent a correction order to him, and I'm not sure exactly the dates, but the debris was cleaned up. The dirt mounds still exist. The trees have now been planted behind the dirt mounds, which doesn't look great, but I don't know that we can really force him to plant trees on mounds. But he's allowed, and we've contacted him recently. I think when you contacted me, I went and looked at it, took pictures. I contacted the building department. We contacted the owner, and he wasn't quite aware of who had been dumping, but was going to clean it up. So we have also issued another corrective order to get the debris out of there. I'm not fond of the mounding, just like you. Unless I'm missing something, Mr. Rodick, I don't know that we can tell someone not to have landscape mounding in their front yard. You know, my comment to you in the email was, now, if that mounding significantly changes the stormwater runoff, or if it starts flooding a neighbor's yard, or starts doing those kind of things, then we have a right to tell them they've done something that's in a violation. But just to have mounding in a front yard, I don't know that we can control that. We can control
Well,
the
let
debris.
me ask you something, if you don't mind.
Sure.
What happens if the mounds are 20 feet tall? That's completely acceptable?
Well, I think that'd be a different situation. That would take it beyond a landscape mound to probably a stockpile of dirt.
Yeah, but is he claiming it's landscaping? It's never been finished, there's no grass on there, there's no landscaping?
Well, that would be my initial concern.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, so we're required to stabilize soil within so many days of it being disturbed. I mean, that's in every city's stormwater pollution prevention plan. That's a question probably best addressed from Mr. Rodick or Amy Moore, our city engineer. I mean, I guess my concern would be not so much with the mounds themselves, if it's not stabilized soil.
It's loose dirt.
It's
Right,
potentially a runoff issue. That'd be my concern.
right.
I think putting grass on it is something we probably
Should
should at
require.
least ask the gentleman to do.
Grass or mulch or something, right? Apologize for my parents, I had softball practice. To inquire in regards to the concern, it's a small area of mounding, so the runoff would be maintained on the property of the
Okay.
zone. And we have looked at what the mayor suggested, if it was a mounding causing a stormwater prevent problem, that would be on his own property too as well. So the essence is trying to get the correction order out to him, which we have, clean up what we consider construction material, clean up, leave the dirt there. His issue right now, he has an open road permit, he wants to tie into the water line. And the job didn't go through last year, he had Higgins Construction under contract. Higgins could not get enough guys to do the work last year of November. They are working on talking to Mr. Bissell. Hopefully together they will get the work done, so there's an open permit to do the work. When I spoke to Mr. Merrick, once that work meeting is done, that meaning from the water line connection to the house to the street, he has, well, plans to make the job complete as soon as possible. And he did emphasize that he is now fully retired from his job now, so whatever that means, but he sounds like he has the time to do it. But we do have a correction order out there to clean up the construction.
Okay.
Is there some sort of deadline, Russ, for the time that he, are we talking 6 months, or how, how long are they thinking that this will be done? So this,
I think my staff probably gave him like 2 weeks.
okay.
What's going to happen if he doesn't do it?
We'll follow up on that correction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no one else.
Okay, next is the Council Communication Committee reports. Mr. Bell.
Good evening. Got a boatload of stuff tonight. Let's see, the Public Works Committee met this evening. We got an update from City Engineer Amy Moore on several projects around town and potential projects. The Richmond Broadway Ravenna Shepherd intersection, the State 91 three-lane widening from Ravenna to Tinker Bridge, as well as the Door Ridge water line replacement. These are all potential future projects. We also got an update on the traffic study results from an Old Mill Road traffic study that we did. The Architectural Review Board has met twice since our last council meeting. They met on Thursday, March 21st. There were 7 cases. 190321 was an exterior alteration at 1925 Enterprise Parkway. It was approved as submitted. 190322 was an addition to Good Shepherd Church at 9571 Shepherd Road. It was approved as submitted. 190212 was a single-family home at 10024 Ravenna Road. It was tabled to revise and resubmit. 190323 was a new model home for Ryan Homes in Whispering Woods at 8889 Maryville Drive. It was approved as noted. 190324 was a digital planter sign for Quest Financial located at 10574 Ravenna Road. It was approved as submitted pending the interpretation of the sign code ordinance by the law director. 190325 was a wall sign for Cybec at 8045 Darrow Road, approved as submitted. And 190326 was a detached garage at 9901 Ravenna Road. It was approved as noted. They also met again on April 4th. There were 4 cases that night. 1904-27 was a temporary project signed by Ryan Holmes for the Whispering Road subdivision. It was approved as submitted. 1904-28 was a detached garage at 2985 Abrams Drive, which was tabled for revision and resubmittal. 1904-29 and 1904-30 were new single-family homes by Pulte and Quarry Reserve Boulder Brook. They were approved as submitted. And 1904-31 was a front porch roof covering at 10271 Bell Meadow Drive, which was approved as noted. Next ARB meeting will be held on Thursday, April 18th, 6 p.m. right here in council chambers. Next Gulf Advisory Board meeting will be held on Tuesday, May 21st, 6:30 p.m. here in council chambers. Nothing further this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Barr.
Thank you. Good evening. A few things to report on this evening. The Environmental Commission met a week ago, Tuesday, April 2nd, and one of the things that took place since that meeting was our mini street cleanup. That was actually this past Saturday. About 15 residents came out and collected approximately 15 bags of garbage in the area of 91 Summit Commerce Parkway, the CVS down at the south end of town. So we want to thank everybody that came out and attended that event. Daisy Walker, one of our Environmental Commission chair people, has been working to procure a flag flown over the United States Capitol. So U.S. Rep. Dave Joyce from the Ohio 14th Congressional District is going to provide a flag, and we're going to present that flag. Mayor Yates is going to present that flag to Mr. Fury in appreciation for his dedication and support to the Environmental Commission, and that will be happening at our Earth Day celebration, April 27th at Liberty Park. Former Councilman Bill Hahn actually reached out to Ms. Walker recently about a Get Caught Green-Handed program, which is actually something that we're going to kind of discuss at our next meeting coming up here. Where basically the Environmental Commission goes out and we search a residence recycling bin container, if you will, to make sure that there's no thin film plastics, there's no pizza boxes or things like that in there. And then we sort of donate a prize or award or certificate to a resident for properly recycling. So we're just trying to come up with some ways to get our residents to properly recycle and encourage that. We're still in communication with Giant Eagle regarding the alternative to the thin film plastic bags that they provide, and we are hoping that they will come to a council meeting and present kind of their findings. Environmental Commission has scheduled Shredding Day. Again, that's Saturday, September 14th. That'll be at the Public Works Facility. We'll preemptively thank Chris for providing us some labor that day. He does a wonderful job, as does his staff. We couldn't do without him. There has been some inquiries in my direction about our fall cleanup. Although nothing is in stone at this point, I'm comfortable going on the record saying we are looking at tentatively October 12th. So we do not want to conflict with homecoming weekend, which I believe is the weekend prior, and we are trying to coordinate with Tinkers Creek Watershed and a few other activities for that weekend. So tentatively for October 12th. Our next Environmental Commission meeting will be held Tuesday, May 7th at 7 p.m. Here in council chambers, and then we are off for a couple of months. Just again, a big shout out. We'd really like to see everybody attend our Earth Day event. It's pretty spectacular. We got some neat stuff planned. And again, that'll be April 27th over at Liberty Ledges Park in conjunction with Summit County Metro Parks. Moving on to Planning Commission. Planning met last Monday, and although the Circle K group was supposed to be on the agenda, they had a few items that did not meet the submittal deadline, so that'll be discussed at the next Planning Commission meeting. We basically had a work session, if you will, with Lynn Muter from City Planning and discussed more of the changes to Chapter 909 of our codified ordinances dealing with small cell technology in the right-of-way. Specifically also Chapter 910, which are small cell design guidelines, and an amendment to Part 11 of the zoning code, Chapter 1165, which deals with telecommunications towers. Most of this is housekeeping language and trying to allow us to be able to issue permits and things with the new kind of 5G wireless technology. So those are some things that planning at some point will be presenting to council for approval. One other item this evening, I do have 2 motions for council, Mr. Steele. If you'd like to hear those now, or if you'd prefer I wait till new business.
Now, or?
You're doing that now. Okay.
Okay, good.
So I would like to make a motion this evening that City Council approve the final site plan for Pathmasters located at 1960 Midway Drive in I-2 Limited Industrial District. The plan includes a building addition and parking expansion, which was approved by the Planning Commission at their March 4th meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Steele seconds. Discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
It passes 6-0. One more motion this evening. I'd like to make a motion that City Council approves the site plan for Good Shepherd Christian Church located at 9571 Shepherd Road, a PF Public Facilities District. The plan is for a building addition, which was approved by the Planning Commission at their March 18th meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any discussion?
Yeah, I've seen this plan come through Architectural Review Board. They put a lot of work into it, and I think it's gonna be really nice.
I would agree. Anything further? Wonderful. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
That passes 6-0 as well. Finally, the next Planning Commission meeting is this coming Monday, which is tax day, April 15th. So if you're not running to the post office to file your tax returns, please join us here at 7 o'clock in council chambers. Circle K hopefully will be on the agenda, and kind of keep that plan moving forward as well. That's all I have this evening. Thank you, sir.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Actually, I attended the Public Works meeting that Mr. Bellin reported on. Ms. McFerrin's going to report on the Community Relations meeting, and Mr. Yates is going to, or Mayor Yates is going to report on the Twin State Committee meeting. Okay.
Ms. McFerrin?
The Parks and Rec's last meeting was on February 28th. Some upcoming events. The water park still has time to purchase your water park passes at preseason discounts. Splash-in days are also still available. These are add-on days to your membership for 18 extra days. Those are available through May 18th or 19th. New this summer is going to be adult lap swim at the water park from 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. for members only. I was asked to remind people to stop by the Berg at the fitness center for quick snacks. They have cups of grapes and some healthy choices, veggies with ranch, and up to a full meal, including hamburgers. And lifeguard training is also available. For Parks and Rec Day Camp registration started on April 6th. And mark your calendars, there's going to be an exciting event on April 24th, where there'll be a revealing party for the Rock the Park schedule, and that will be at 6 p.m. at Glen Eagles Golf Course and Event Center. The next meetings are April 25th, June 27th, August 22nd, and October 24th. I did attend the Community Relations meeting on March 21st. It was held at the Moses Roach House, and if you don't know where that is, that's what used to be referred to as the Chamber House. But the Chamber looked into the fact that this building was 146 years old and only home to the Chamber for 14 years, so they are now calling it the Moses Roach House. The Chamber's upcoming meetings will focus on a government theme. Mrs. Powers was there reminding everyone to support the levy, which will be the school levy for, which is up on May 7th. the library talked about a foster care drive, which unfortunately it ends on the 8th. But there is a group through the library called Twinsburg Interact, and they are putting together care packages for the foster care system. So newborn babies to 24 months can get delivered to a foster care home, and they don't have necessarily things in their homes for the babies. So they were looking for new and full-size items: baby lotion, shampoo, soap, diapers, wipes, formula, sleepers, baby blankets, bibs, diaper cream, and they can be dropped off at the library and I think also at the fitness center. That is a really good program. Also under communications, I did want to ask Mary Yates, because you had committed to emailing us weekly on the weeks that we didn't have the weeks we didn't have council, and that kind of stopped on March 8th, and I was wondering if you're going to resume those emails.
Yeah, I'm still, I guess, catching up from spring break and being out of town, but yeah, I intend to keep that going.
Well, from Mary 8th, there was 2 that were missing, but anyway, I appreciate it, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Fury.
The CIC will meet this Thursday at 6 p.m. at the jury room, and that's all I have this evening.
Okay. None of my committees have met. I was here for the Public Works meeting, and I have nothing further. Next is Mayor Yates.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Things going on in town. Chief will probably talk about it, but we do have a civil service test being given for firefighters on April 27th. So we'll create a new list for us here at the city for hiring. Attended a couple events recently. I was able to attend Destiny Church, celebrated their 15th year anniversary. So it's a church that's been in town for a number of years that worshipped at Chamberlain and then ended up buying the Edge facility and is now out of there, but they invited me. I know a lot of the members and the pastor, and it was a wonderful event to see them celebrate 15 years. I'm part of the Kent State Regional Advisory Board, and there's a new program that was introduced called the Rising Scholar Program. And really what they're looking to do is find kids in the 7th and 8th grade level and kind of start a mentoring program with them to bring them up through both high school and into college. And part of this program would also provide funding for college. So they've started doing it from main campus and other regional campuses, and so we're looking forward to seeing what that program can bring us to here in Twinsburg. Events going on around town. We've got on the 20th, we have a lot of our Easter activities going on. This particular Friday, we have an adult Easter egg hunt. I know it's sold out. It sells out every year, but always looking forward to that event. And then the candy scramble and the wet egg hunt for kids is April 20th up at the fitness center. I believe it starts at around 11 o'clock for the candy scramble, and then the wet egg hunt is immediately after that. And then lastly, I just want to recognize a resident, David Rader. So he's a longtime resident, and I was invited to come out to provide a proclamation for, he was nominated and awarded Volunteer of the Year for Crossroads Hospice. And what David does is provides companionship, and he was a retired nurse for 38 years, so he has a medical background that adds benefit to what he does with his volunteer work, but spends a tremendous amount of time and dedication with veterans. And so he has really created a program for Crossroad Hospice with veterans, and he does some formal recognition of veterans, pinning, and just really was just, it was a wonderful ceremony recognizing David and his volunteer work. I see him a lot. I see him around town. Never knew that about him, but the organization was just tremendously proud of the work that he does and really wanted to recognize him. So I want to thank them for having me being part of that program. And then lastly, for me, hopefully everyone is prepared to have a nice, happy Easter coming up. And with that, we'll move into department head reports. So, Chris, you want to start?
When is Passover?
Good evening, Council. Well, the Service Department concluded its winter operations. The crews are back to day shift and starting the parks maintenance and all that comes with the spring and summer seasons. To give you an update on the snow and ice season for 2018-19, we completed 19 events. Last year, we completed 25. We applied 2,481 tons of salt. Last year, we applied 7,170 tons. And we applied 36,700 gallons of brine, which was also up from the year prior. We're kind of expanding that program. And the drivers drove 23,895 miles during the season. So moving on to the spring operations, we are kind of winding down on the roadway maintenance as far as potholes go. They have spotted a few extra, I don't know, something happened, I guess, during this last snowstorm. A bunch of potholes popped. So they did 133 potholes from March till now. But we're going to go back, get the remainder of those, and then they'll go into the phase where they do a little bit of bigger roadway repairs. So that's underway. Storm area checks, of course, because we're getting into the season of heavy rains. And along with that, we're planning our first trip through Tinker's Creek. We always clean up Tinker's Creek. We'll be there in the spring and removing fallen trees and debris from there.
So when you do Tinker's Creek, you go the 2.5 miles through the city to do Tinker's Creek?
Right, we do the whole, yep.
Okay.
And then if we have to, if there's anything large in there, we'll get that as well. But we've gotten to the point, we've been in there, we go in there every year, at least once, maybe twice, trees, falling in there.
Around the bridges, there seems to be some concerns. So the bridge off 80, off of Glenwood, there's always some questions at that corner.
Mm-hmm.
And a resident mentioned there was one on the bridge in the Center Valley area that maybe you have to take a look at.
Yeah, we will pay attention to that, but yeah, we'll be down that whole length. We've gotten into, we've completed a couple sewer line repairs on Hyde Park and Waldo Way. We have, branch chipping has started. We performed our first go through the city, began that on April 1st and completed on the 8th, so it took us about a week. We had 453 stops and collected 115 cubic yards of material. The next round will begin on Monday, May the 6th. So that program runs till fall, so until we start picking up the leaves. Also, we also performed our first round of litter removal, and they collected 24 55-gallon bags of litter, so we've got a good start on that. Parks maintenance, we've done the playground mulch, the mulch that goes under the playground equipment. Liberty Park and Bell Meadow, they've got that all completed in there. We came back from shifts about a week early, so we were able to get started on a few of these things. Baseball and soccer fields are being worked on, removing dead trees from the winter in the parks, and they're cleaning up the trails. So they got a really good jump on the season, so that extra week helps a lot. So they're moving through with that, and I think that's it for now.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you.
Chief?
Good evening, once again. In the month of March, the fire department responded to 227 calls for service. For the year, that brings us up to 697, which is, at this point, 43 calls short of last year's pace. There were no significant or notable events to bring to your attention tonight, but our Fire Prevention Bureau did complete 22 inspections, worked on 2 fire investigations, and also did a round of teaching in the schools, contacting about 1,000 students in the process of doing that. We completed almost 500 hours of training in 126 individual events. And then under points of interest, again on April 6th, the weather warning sirens were tested and they all functioned properly, although there is a issue with the indicator light on the unit at Cannon Road and Liberty still that has not, we've not been able to get fixed. And as the mayor mentioned, we do have the entrance exam on April 27th, and we are in the planning process for a captain's promotional test as well. That's my report for this evening.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. Construction activity through my office. We saw 78 applications for plan review with a cost of $1.9 million. And with that, we had 2 single-family homes with a cost of construction about $500,000 for both of them. We performed 136 inspections for the month of March, and we did 15 point-of-sales application reviews. We do have a BZA hearing tomorrow night. It's for a single-family dwelling looking for some relief on a rear setback encroachment. By the end of this month, on the Riley site, there will be a trailer out front of the building. The trailer will serve to start their interviewing process, hiring process. Their first phase of occupancy is looking to be May 15th for the offices. So there'll be some activity, not just construction on that site. And later this month, Insurance Service Office, they do an evaluation of all jurisdictions that do code enforcement. I will be meeting with a member later this month, and he evaluates our process of code enforcements. They come out 4 to 5 years. Last time we got graded out, 1 being very highly in code enforcement, 10 not too good, 4 for residential, 4 for commercial. So I'm looking to stay there or better with our process there. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Larry?
Evening, council. As reported earlier, we had a tax incentive review council meeting on March 19th, and that council reviews all the active incentive agreements for the city of Twinsburg and makes recommendations to council. We reviewed more than 20 agreements, and the TIRC made recommendations to council, including the continuation of a number of top agreements, the continuation of a number of CRA agreements, the termination of 1 CRA agreement for Ganshorn Properties, and the termination of 1 agreement for National Enterprise Systems, which was a Twinsburg Occupancy Program agreement. So those are on the agenda for consideration of council tonight. And then once that action has been taken, we will inform the county of the results of the council's actions, and they will take the administrative measures necessary to terminate the agreements that are being terminated, and the others will continue as written. There's also a resolution for a new community reinvestment area agreement for Pepperell Fuchs, who will be relocating 137 employees from their Twinsburg Township location to a location on Darrow Road in the southern part of the city. That agreement will provide a 50% tax abatement for 12 years. The necessary notices have been sent to the various taxing authorities, including Cauca Valley Career Center and the Twinsburg City School District. The Twinsburg Community Improvement Corporation will meet this Thursday at 6 p.m., as was mentioned earlier. The agenda is on our website along with the minutes from the last meeting. You'll see that at twinsburgcic.com. I'd like to thank Mark Gutowski for his work in helping to update that website. The CIC has been forwarding information concurrently with the city's audit, and all the information requested by the auditors has been forwarded to the auditor, and so far so good, so we're just waiting to see what the final outcome of that effort is. We're continuing to work on the downtown redevelopment district designation that we discussed in previous council meetings. One part of that is an economic development plan for the district that we're working through and should have that ready sometime next month. And I've prepared a draft ordinance for the law department's review establishing the district. And again, that'll come along with the downtown redevelopment district plan to council likely late next month. And we're looking forward to meeting with a number of property owners in the central area to get their input regarding the downtown redevelopment district potential. And those are basically the things we're working on right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry, I had one quick. Do we have any sort of historical idea about when top agreements or CRAs go away, like what that ultimately does to the business? Like, do they stay? Do they end up leaving?
Yeah. Well, the whole idea of the top agreement was to get them
Right.
located in a building, particularly in vacant space in the city of Twinsburg. We've had a number that have expired, including a Safran, which was formerly Goodrich Power Systems. They're still here and growing. It's been a very productive program for the city. And it's not one of those where we've experienced just the incentive period loyalty of the company after which they hit the road. It's been very productive for the city. And of course, the CRA agreements are related to an expansion or capital improvement to a building, or construction of a brand new building. So once that's in place, basically the company is here, and particularly if they're owning the building as opposed to leasing the building. So both those programs have been very good for us. We've had a couple, every year we have some that just don't make it, whether it's because of economic conditions or changes in their business practices or their business environment. But all in all, I provided some information last year about the incentives and how productive they've been for the city, and I could provide it.
I was referring to the ones that don't make it, right? So
Yeah.
we've got two tonight. We've got one top and one theory. They're going
Right.
away. Do we have any sort of historical reference about those companies? Do they end up staying?
Yeah, I think that's a business decision based
Sure.
on primarily what the location means to their business. National Enterprise Systems came here originally in a move that involved over 50 employees. And for whatever reason, the bulk of those employees, or half those employees, have been moved out to another location because the company anticipates they're going to realize efficiencies from doing that. That's a business decision. Unfortunately, it's also a breach of our agreement. So, and we don't expect them to go away. They may, but at the same time, as I said earlier, we offer incentives for reasons,
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Makes
the only
sense.
way we can continue to operate incentives is if the companies honor their agreement and indeed create employment.
Yeah, no, I wasn't questioning
Yeah.
rescinding them. I was just
Right.
curious. But thank you.
Right. You're welcome.
The only large ones that I've ever seen move over the last 15 years are ones that expand so large that there's not a place for them.
Does it go? I think that's one of our biggest problems. Businesses grow to a point where they need a bigger building,
Sure.
and
We can't comment.
we can't comment.
Good evening.
Good evening.
During the month of March, the City of Twinsburg Communications Center generated 2,530 calls for service among the Twinsburg Police and Fire Departments, and the Reminderville Police and Fire Departments. The total for the year is $7,434. Twinsburg police officers arrested or cited 146 suspects into court on 230 different counts. Officers issued 222 written warnings in 3 parking sites. Officers investigated 37 traffic crashes, of which 13 were injury crashes, 8 were on private property, and none were fatal. Just a couple things. Next week is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. It's a week set aside every year to recognize communication center staffs throughout the country who answer those police, fire, EMS 911 calls every year. As Mr. Steele could tell you, we've got a great staff of dispatchers downstairs who do us great credit every time. And it's a tough job, and it's also an invisible job. You may talk to them on the phone, but you may never have an opportunity to see them in person. So if you do have a chance to stop by next week and meet the dispatch staff, please feel free to do so. Also, Chris Campbell assures me that the good weather is here to stay. So as we know, the sun is brighter, the roads seem to get a little faster for some reason for some people. So later this week I'll be sending out to each of you that list I compiled last year of where we get our frequent traffic complaints from. So if you have any additions to add to that, please let me know. So you will see our officers out hitting those spots, plus the usual traffic enforcement that we do. So just a reminder to our residents to slow it down, enjoy the sunshine, get where you're going safely. And that's my report for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Sarah?
Good evening, Council. We're still working with the performance audit team down at the state. They did complete our scope, and it has been turned into leadership, so we're just waiting for that review to be done so that we can get the scope and take a look. Our interest earnings year-to-date are just under $67,000. We're up 8% from where we were last year, so still doing good on the investments. And in finance, we are working through the gap conversion for our financial statements, and we have the auditors scheduled to come out next month. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all we have this evening.
Wonderful.
Okay, next we're on to legislation. First up is ordinance 2019.
An ordinance authorizing the sale at auction of certain personal property owned by the City of Twinsburg and no longer needed for municipal purposes and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to declare ordinance 2019 an emergency. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. McFerrin seconds. The reason we're going to do this as an emergency is we want to get this, the property the city wants onto the website and get it out to people to look at and get it sold as quickly as possible. Any other discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ordinance 2019 passes 6-0. Or the emergency passes 6-0. Next, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Stoffer seconds. Is there any discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 2019 passes 6-0. Next is Resolution 35, 2019.
A resolution acknowledging council's receipt and review of the monthly financial statements submitted by the Finance Department for October, November, and December 2018.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 35, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Barr seconds. Is there any discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Resolution 35, 2019 passes 6-0. Next is Resolution 36, 2019.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation to participate in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded in 2019.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 36, 2019. Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Is there any discussion?
This just allows us to participate in the ODOT bidding process for
And
the upcoming winter
Right,
season.
and we're changing from the other group to ODOT. Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Okay. Because we need 30-day notice to the schools, we're going to pass over Resolution 37, 2019. Next is Resolution 38, 2019.
A resolution authorizing the continuation of various agreements under the Community Reinvestment Area Program created pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 3735.66 for real property tax abatement.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 38, 2019. Is there a second?
A second?
Mr. Barr seconds. Is there any discussion?
These community reinvestment agreements were reviewed by the county, the school system, and the city, and found everybody on this list compliant with the commitments they made in regards to employees and the construction costs that they've incurred to expand their businesses in Twinsburg.
Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 38, 2019 passes 6-0. Next is Resolution 39, 2019.
A resolution authorizing the continuation of various agreements to provide tax incentives under the terms and conditions of the Twinsburg Occupancy Program established by Ordinance 144, 2004.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 39, 2019. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any discussion?
Again, these are Twinsburg occupancy permits. People have moved new jobs or existing or added to jobs in the city of Twinsburg. It gives them a decrease in income tax. And again, these are reviewed by the county, school system, as well as the city. And everybody on this list was found to be compliant with their commitments to the agreement.
Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 39, 2019 passes 6-0. Next is Resolution 40, 2018, or 2019, excuse me.
A resolution terminating the Twinsburg Occupancy Program Agreement between the City of Twinsburg and National Enterprise Systems as recommended by the Tax Incentive Review Council.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 40, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Stoffer seconds. Is there any discussion?
In the tax incentive review meeting, we can approve, amend, or terminate an agreement. We only terminate an agreement after a multiple-year issue with them meeting their agreement. In this case, the board chose to terminate this agreement.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 40, 2019, or excuse me, Shannon, please call the roll. I'm sorry.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes?
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Resolution 40, 2019 passes 6-0. Next is Resolution 41, 2019.
A resolution terminating the Community Reinvestment Area Agreement between the City of Twinsburg and Gansworn Properties Mustang Diameter as recommended by the Tax Incentive Review Council.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 41, 2019. Is there a second?
Second. Yield. Mr. Bellin, it's all yours.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Is there any discussion?
This is another company that didn't meet its payroll requirements as they went into this particular project. and expansion. So multiple years were granted to allow them to rectify things, but at this particular year, we're just terminating the agreement.
Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Resolution 41, 2019 passes 6-0. Okay, next is ordinance 42, 2019.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 18, 2019, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2019, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to declare ordinance 42, 2019 an emergency and place it on its third and final reading. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Is there any discussion?
Reason for the emergency is the grant came in to do some purchases for industrial washing and drying equipment for the fire department. So they want to add 21.2K, and the grant is for 12.1. It's something that we're going to do last year,
Right.
but the grant didn't come in time. So
Right.
we need the emergency so we can buy this quickly.
Right, and this is for cleaning their turnout gear.
Yes.
The stuff they wear into a fire. Okay. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Okay, the emergency clause passes 6-0. I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 42, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Yield.
Mr. Barr seconds. Is there any further discussion? Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Oh, Shannon does have something.
There is a request to amend this one to add $7,750.
I thought we were going to do that on a different line, but I'm sorry. Or I thought we were just going to make a motion to add a transfer of $8,000.
Yeah.
Did you want that attached to this specific ordinance?
We have the appropriation amendment on there, so if we can add it on there, that'd be
I'd
great.
like to make a motion that we amend
Oh.
42.
42, 2019 to add a single line item for $8,000
Replacement.
for the fitness center, so that they can replace a stove that was damaged and covered by insurance. And so they've got a check rate around $8,000, they want to replace it, so
Yes,
they
sir.
have a second.
I'll second. Okay, so we amended it. It's an emergency.
So you gotta pass the motion,
Right.
so you gotta call roll.
Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Like a motion to declare ordinance 42, 2019 emergency as amended and place it on its third and final reading. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Back to Mr. Barr. Is there any further discussion?
No, other than I'd like to drive home the point that the $8,000 is covered by insurance and is not actually costing the city $8,000. We're just required by law to appropriate the funds.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay. Shannon, please call the roll on the emergency.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Okay. The emergency clause with the amendment passes 6-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 42, 2019. Is there a second? Second.
We have to do that?
Wait, we're good.
We're good.
We're good?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Sorry about that.
You covered it all.
Okay.
As
done.
emergency.
All right. Okay, the final one is resolution 43, 2019.
A resolution supporting the Ohio Sunshine Protection Act currently being debated in the Ohio State Senate.
So this is because our Senator Christina Rogner has brought this bill to the Ohio State Senate, and by us supporting it gives her some support. in presenting that bill and getting it passed. And this would be that we would stay on per minute daylight savings time. We wouldn't be switching our clocks back and forth. So that's why we're doing this.
Okay. You want to make the motion? Go ahead.
Oh, I'd like to make the motion
To adopt.
to adopt Resolution 43, 2019.
Is there a second?
Is there a second?
I'll second. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Shannon, please call the roll.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes?
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
No.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 43, 2019 passes 5-1. That is the end of the legislation. Next on the agenda is unfinished business, new business, and miscellaneous.
I just have one quick thing. I was fortunate enough to swear in some new members, both the Environmental Commission and the Planning Commission. Just a shout out to all our residents that want to get involved, whether it's attendance at these meetings or being involved in boards and commissions. It is greatly appreciated. So welcome to all our new members on our boards and commissions. That's all happening right now. Just like you say, happy Easter to everyone. That's all I have.
Mrs. Stoffer.
I have nothing this evening.
I have a couple of things. One is I'd like to ask Mary Yates to share our resolution that we just passed, number 43, 2019, with our Mayor's Association of Portage and Summit County, if you would. I wanted to wish everybody a happy Passover and happy Easter. And I did have a question. Isn't there a seat open still on the CIC for a resident?
There is, yeah. It's
Okay.
advertised, it's on the website.
I just want to mention that there is a seat open, and bring that to everyone's attention. That's all I have.
Mr. Bellin.
Thank you. The Twinsburg Historical Society is looking for help this Saturday, April 13th. They're looking for help at the museum. It's in need of yard work. They'll be raking and cleaning the grounds around the building. They will supply bags. If you can bring rakes and garden tools, President Andy Tomko will bring donuts. Also, the newly acquired Moses Roach House is in need of some TLC as well, minor carpentry, a little electrical work, and just some general maintenance. Bring your hand tools and perhaps a ladder. Any questions, you can email Andy Tomko, president@twinsburghistoricalsociety.org. I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Passover, happy Easter. Nothing further. Thank you.
Mr. Fury.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Okay, I'd like to everybody, happy Passover, happy Easter, be safe out there on the roads. We need to make a motion to excuse Mr. Scafidi.
Make a motion, we excuse Mr. Scafidi.
I second. Shannon, please call the roll.
Still waiting from the other, Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay. We are adjourned. Thanks for coming.